I want to show you some of the free APIs that you can use for your final project, if you guys want to.
Oh, yes. And like, I want to know when we use API. Like,
Yes. So basically, you already know how to create your databases and how to create tables and how to insert data inside the database, right? So basically, there are different type of APIs. API could be considered a library, like where you can just access a set of method or functions. An API could be also considered a database out there in a remote database where you can just go ahead and access certain data in the database. An API could be considered what is it, REST API, where you can just grab data from certain resources or URI and so on. And you can just make a request to the API and the API will give you a response. And if you get a response with the like 200 response, that means that your request was received successfully and it was a correct request. And that the resource that you're trying to access is available to you. Right now in here, I have a set of APIs. APIs that need authentications, or anybody knows about the authentication or authorization. So there are different type of authentication or authorization. If you were in my workshop last Friday, not last week, but the week before last week, I talked about auth. So one of the ways to provide authorization or authentications is by using a login, providing username, credentials, right? Another way is by using API key, okay? And another one is by using one authorization code. Right now, these APIs that we have in here in this link that I'm going to post in this link, there are APIs in here that don't require for you to have an API key. And there are APIs that here that that do require to have an API key, right? So let's say, for example, if I want to go to the animals APIs, if I want to make a website about animals, I can go into here and just check into here which type of APIs where I can grab data from. You know, you don't have to create it locally. You don't have to, you will save time by just using an API. It's like a database out there that contains all the data that you need for that specific application, and you don't have to worry about and you wouldn't have to worry about making the database yourself, because you just have to worry about making the core programming of your applications and then just grabbing the data from this API that is available for you online. So for example, let me take a look in here. Something about entertainment. This in here, we have a JSON API for curated jokes, jokes, nourish jokes. That's the thing as a REST API. REST API for corporate voice words. All of this, you don't need to have authorization. You can just make the request and you can grab data from it. So maybe you want to go and take a look into a meme. Or maybe you want to go ahead and take a look into Chuck Norris. It's up to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look into Chuck Norris. So if you want to retrieve one random joke in JSON format, you just have to go ahead and get this. 1 second, go back in here, get this link. If you access this link, you will get a random joke. The value of it is the earth was once called Pangea until Chuck Norris stepped on a crack. I don't understand the joke actually. If you guys understand the joke, let me know, okay? Do you understand the joke? Isn't this like a John Cena type of joke? Let me go ahead and do another get request by just doing this again. Chuck Norris likes green eggs and ham for Martin Luther King Day. I don't understand the joke either. Oh my gosh. Who here can understand this joke? One more random joke. If not, I will just change this API and I include it in the one in the example of today. This is worse than that jokes. Let's do one more time. Chuck Norris was not born. He kicked his mother off of him. Okay, guys, I think I'm done with this Chuck Norris. Let me go back and find a different one, okay, guys? A different API. But if you feel like using it for the example, you can go ahead and use it. This is the link. Because I cannot stand these jokes. Let me find different something. Maybe fun fact. No, this link does not work anymore. 1 second. Ah, I closed it. Give me 1 second. You guys. Mama jokes. Let me see the mama jokes in here. An API that insults your mama. It seems that this has been, and it's also allowing you only 5 calls. And let me go back. Where am I? All right, let me come back to entertainments. Entertainments. Meme. Era meme.
Miss, that
Yeah.
that one was done with Postman.
The one we
Yeah.
Postman, we
Yeah,
use
I see the get.
Spotify. The one we Postman with the Spotify. We were using the Spotify API. You can make we can make some GET request with Postman as well. I'm trying to find a nice API that looks good for some examples.
Can you go to corporate bees?
Oh, bus, corporate bus. Let me see, 1 second. This one. Let me go ahead and take a look something. Take a look. Praise. Functionally syndicate multimedia-based bandwidth. And if I do it again, quickly extend to market-driven services. So you're getting a phrase every time, but I don't even know what that is referring to. Conveniently communicate highly efficient meta services. Let me go ahead and read more about this API. Okay, so here a aha generator to randomly pick out phrases, which can help your application get ahead in the industry where it spins. Buzzwords, vagueness reigns supreme. Examples of few examples. Quickly cloudify equity invested, collaboration and idea sharing. Means use Google Docs. Efficiently build empowered networks. Make a company or use the internet or sell things. Okay, we use this one. I'm going to use this one. All right. So this is what we are going to do, and I'm going to show you something right now. Before I go into going over there, Pali, this haha is a little bit scary with the in the chat. Is it the true haha? Let's go ahead and I'm sorry. Okay, guys. Let's go ahead and work on this, okay? I want to talk to you about Ajax, and I also want to take a look and want to also talk to you about Fetch And I also want to talk to you about actions, okay? Asynchronous JavaScript. Guys have this link, copy, link, paste it for you.
We will have them on the notebook too, right?
Yeah, I need to add the day number 13 for today, and you will have it. Yes. So this is a way, HTTP request in this browser. You have the URL bar. This is in the top. You have links. You have calls, making calls just like this. And also you do form. You remember when we created a form and you were storing into your REST API new books? Do you guys remember using your REST API? You were the form was not in the server itself. The form was just in a regular HTML page, and then you guys were submitting the form. And when you submit the form, you make in actions, you have provide the URL. So what is AJAX? AJAX stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. AJAX stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. AJAX. And what is happening is that you're making background HTTP requests using JavaScript, and then handling the response of those HTTP requests with JavaScript. And there is no need for you to refresh the page for your page to be updated. So basically, we are refreshing to JavaScript abilities to act on a non-blocking manner. You are going to be not refreshing the page directly, but in the background. Imagine if every network request that took time to give us a response blocked any operations from executing. You don't want that, right? So that's why you need asynchronous JavaScript. This is an example. So the initial method developed to deal with asynchronous call was to use callbacks to provide a function to run once a request has been resolved. All right. This is an example of a callback being used to deal with the result of an asynchronous download photo function. So while callbacks are important to understand, they can lead to something referred as callback hell. For example, take a look into this. You have an asynchronous action, and this in here, we have an asynchronous result. And then you have an asynchronous action number 2, and the asynchronous number 1 result. And then in here you have action on result number 2. There is a website that you can learn more about this. It's here. It's called Colba Health. You can go over there and you can learn more about it. We're going to explore a better option later. Okay. So, like Ajax is what you were using, okay? We're going to be using Fetch API for Fetch. We're going to be using Fetch later, okay? So we have in here single page applications. Ajax allows us to create them. And single page applications means no reload or refresh within the user interface. And JavaScript manipulates the DOM as the users interact. And the experience is similar to native or mobile application. Now, let's talk about this. Wait, what is Fetch? The Fetch API provides an interface for fetching resources, including across the network. You can fetch resources either within your same computer from a REST API running in your local computer, a local host, or fetching resources from the internet. And it provides a generic definition of request and response object, as well as other things involved with network request. So the fetch method takes one mandatory argument, which is the path to the resource that you want to fetch. Okay, so for example, which is the path that we want to get the resource from? This one, this URL, URI, okay? And returns a promise that resolves the response to that request. It's going to be either successful or not. And you can also optionally pass init options such as the HTTP methods, request headers, put, post, delete, and so on. And this is an example. For example, and here, you use fetch, and then you put the URL or URI, and then you do that, then you're using the promise then, and then in there you put a function, and then you can continue with the chain of promises. You want to, sometimes you can either set the response to be automatically a JSON format.
Professor,
Yes.
the URL is what kind of URL? The URL of your application, the URL of what?
The URL where you're going to find the data from. For example,
If we
this
have,
data where I'm going to grab a random, I'm going to be grabbing random phrases from this URL. So this is the URL that you're going to be putting if you want to use the API, okay? So for the example of today, we're going to be using the buzzword generator API, okay? And therefore, this is the URL that we're going to be putting. But any other API that you guys want to, you can try it. Now, it does not have to be the one that I am using right now. Understood? All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, my birds. All right, guys. This is very simple to use. My birds. They are cockatiels. All right, guys. Actions. Actions is a little bit different than fetch, but they are the same. You are also handling HTTP request. And instead of you doing fetch like that, you're going to be using actions. And there you put anything that you need to do, okay? And then, like you put the URL, you can put it there. And then you can also do anything that you want in these promises. So it's URI, you call it URI when you are referring to resources, resting resources in there. This is an example. This is examples in here. Okay. URI, the promises. If you have an error, you can use the cache promise. And actions is backwards. Actions is you use them using the Node.js. Actions you can do it in the background in the core part of your Node app. These are here differences between fetch and actions. So fetch API, you don't need to install it. It comes built in into the window object, right? Actions needs to be installed as a dependency. However, it will automatically transform the JSON data for you. You don't have to do a stringify or JSON, or you don't have to change it into JSON. You don't have to JSON it either. So if you want to avoid the 2 steps where you have to turn the data into JSON, then you can use the actions. If you don't mind doing the 2 steps, then you can use the actions. Okay? If you want to learn more about the differences, I will give you this link. You have it already in your in here in your slides. All right. So let me give you an example, just in the client side of grabbing data from an API from the client side, okay, using fetch, right? So let me give you an example right now. Let me just go into the Visual Studio. And it does not matter where I'm going to put it. I'm just going to add it in the same folder because I'm just caring about the client. So I don't mind. By the way, guys, yesterday, because I wanted to use a different file and from yesterday, you need to change this, the main, when you do node, you will need to change it to the file that you want to run in here in the package.json. All right, let's come back to this. What am I in here? Let me delete this. Index.html. So let's say, for example, I don't care right now about the header. I'm just caring about what is in the body. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do the head, right? Yeah, HTML first. Guys, please mute yourself while you after you log in. Head. Let me just 1 second, guys. Body. So let's say I have a message in here. And I also will have a different one. Phrase. Phrase is going to be where I'm going to be sending my data. But I'm going to also show you 2 things in here. But first, notice in here that I can either do my call inside the body or in the head. It doesn't matter where I write it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and write it in the head. Why not? Or just in the body. Why not? So I'm going to go ahead and write one script. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is that I'm going to do the fetch. And what I want to put inside the fetch is the URL. This is the URL. And just like you see in here, you are going to do two promises. One, to get the response. You can get it in JSON or in any other format. It's not necessarily that you get it in JSON though. So 1 second here. So I will do the then. I'm going to put a that, and I'm going to do a then. And I'm going to do, what I'm going to do in here is that I'm going to put data. For the data that I get, it's just, I'm going to do it as data. I'm going to, what am I in here? 1 second. Data. And I'm going to go ahead and write my messages that I want in there. So first of all, I'm going to just return it as a response or data.json. Where am I here? Return as data.json. And then I go ahead and do another then. And I can do, which I don't need to just have a response or data or anything. I can use any names that I want. I'm also going to call it, call it a phrase. And so what I'm going to do is this one, my phrase. I'm going to first go ahead and console.log that phrase. And then I'm going to go ahead and I can either do it this way or I can just go directly document that get element by ID, set phrase, and inner HTML. And what I want to put in there is phrase. But before that, I want to make sure that is stringified. Okay. So do you see in here where it says JSON that stringify? Let's do it. JSON that stringify to make it as a string phrase. And then I'm going to do the same thing in here. I can just do one variable instead directly, but it's okay. So now, when I go into here, and I go into the page or the HTML page, this should be documents, give me 1 second. Documents, users, and documents, and this is node projects, index. I can see the phrase in there. And if you want to make it much better, instead of you having the word phrase and maybe you don't want to put the quotation marks in there or anything like that, you can do it just like this. Give me 1 second. Message to, and then this message, I want to just do phrase that phrase. And then I want to provide that one message. So what I want to do in here is I'm going to put message in there. Save. So if I go ahead and reload this, I can see it like this. Collaborative, architect, seamless. And if I reload this, effectively client-centered niche. And if I reload this, every time I reload, or I will have a different, but if I want, I can have a bottom in here that it will make the request every time I can have this as a bottom. I can have this as a function that whenever I get have a function that says get random phrase. So let's do it like that. Why don't we do it like that? So for example, I'm going to have a bottom in here that says get random phrase bottom, get random phrase. Okay. So we have get random phrase bottom, and maybe I want my fish into a function. So I can either do the function like this, I can do the function like that, I can do it however I want. I'll just do it a regular way. Get phrase. Sorry. Because why not, right? Let me put this in the bottom. Let me indent a little bit so it's more readable for my for the future people. So now when you do this, get random phrase into the unclick, get phrase, then I have this, I reload, and I have in here get random phrase, and there I get a random phrase. I click again, get another random phrase. I click again, get another random phrase. I click again, get another random phrase, and so on. Let's say, for example, I want to, you guys can do it just like this. You can do it in different ways. I now want to show you something different. But before I continue telling you or showing you, you guys can also explore with the actions, actions, and in your, you can try with actions. This is client based. This is from the front end part of it. Actions, you can do it from the back end, but also can work in the front end. Now, do you have any questions about using fetch, or is simple enough? All right, good to know. So now let's go ahead, and I want to do the first function I wanted to show you about. Give me 1 second. So what if we want to display a message? And this message, I'm going to make it into an H1 because why not? So 1 second, guys. So let's say we have we want to say a greeting depending on, I can either write it here or I can read it in the write it in the head. I'm going to write a function to write it in the head because now you have seen reading in the body. I want to give you some different examples of JavaScript and everything. So what if I wanted to write a function that will give me different readings depending on the time of the day? How do you think I would do that? I'll give you this some time. Can you tell me,
Can you
guys, how
repeat?
to write a function that will be displaying a different message, like a different greeting, like good afternoon, good evening, good morning? Did we do it together? Did we do that together? If not, we should do it. It's like one basic one. I want you to tell me how to write a function, a JavaScript function, that will change this A1 to say a greeting for someone depending on the day of the day or time. Okay? Do you guys need some time? I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it. Do you guys want me to give you 5 minutes to think about it?
Does it work?
What? What doesn't work?
The fetch.
Yes. Don't you see that we are getting different words? That
Can-
we're getting different functions?
Can I get the link?
The
Yeah.
link for the
URL.
fetch? The URI. Okay, 1 second.
Miss, may I ask you something?
Go ahead and ask.
I'm sorry, I wasn't here. Could you repeat the thing that we need to do it? Like, we need to think about
Yes.
it? Yes, thank you.
You need to think about
Yes.
how to make a different greeting depending on the time and date of the day. The date of the day, the time of the day. Like, for example, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Okay? In
Okay, thank you,
JavaScript.
miss.
I mute myself. You guys have 5 minutes to think about it. All right, guys. So this is how we implement the, if you want to add an image, like a random image every time you click this button. So you created an image element. You don't need to actually create the image element in there, but you created it. And then you go ahead and look for an API that will give you random images. And then you are going to just set the source of the image element to be the image link. Okay, so this is how you are going to be getting random images. For example, just like in here, every time you click on here, you're getting a random image. Okay, and I go back. All right. Okay. And also it has the part of good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. And so depending on the time, it's going to give you different greetings. So if you come back in here, sorry, here, you can see there is right now evening time, so you're getting the word good evening. And if you want to get the random phrase, you're getting the random phrase in there. All right,
May I ask you something?
go ahead and ask your question.
So how can we make, let's say, if we're trying to change the hour by ourselves, how can we do that?
The what?
If we're trying to change our hour, if we're trying to change the hour by ourselves, let's say, change it like to 10 o'clock in the morning.
So you mean like you want to enter the hour yourself instead of
Yes.
instead of getting it randomly? I mean, instead of getting it using the instead of getting it.
Yeah, in some ways, yes.
So basically, there are many different ways to do that. And one of those ways is that you can set the hours, you can set the dates, but you do have to create a date object. So you do have to do new date, and then that object you can just set the date. So it's you can set the hours, set minutes, and so on. So for example, new date. When you create this object, you can do the set hours, set minutes, and so on. Okay. Also, you can also do set time to a date object as well. All right, guys. Some of you guys were looking into authentication. And you already know about authentication. So, for example, let me see something different. Look at this.
Quick question.
Animal list and
No, sorry, no, just a quick question. How did you were able to bring it up onto the the code HTML? How were you able to bring it up on the pull it up as a new tab or show it, I guess, run it?
I used the fetch to grab the data, and then I use the element. I grab the element by ID and I set it to the element. Okay, so first I fetched and grabbed the data. Then I grab the element by ID and I change the properties. Understood? And attributes. Okay.
And then you just put the link, the URL, you put that up on a web browser, and you'd be able to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
If this is a if this is a REST API, you can see the data in the browser. Like for example here, this random message, random phrase, you copy this and you put it there and you see the data. And I go ahead and do another GET request, different data, and so on. Raw data, headers, JSON. Okay, headers.
I guess what I'm asking, how did you? I forgot. How did you run the HTML code? Like, how did you just run it on?
You just open this is just client based right now. I'm just showing you how to do it in client based. I just go ahead and open that file, double click, file,
okay,
open. That's
gotcha,
it.
all right, yeah.
You can do it with the issues and issues in Node.js. This is how you install it. npm install issues. If we want to do it in the client base, you have to import this. If you want to do it in the client or front end, you have to include this link on your file. All right. If you want to do it in the backend, you will have to install it and import it. All right. You can read more about it, see examples, and so on, how you do it, etc., etc., etc. But let's go back. I hope that answered your question. Did that answer your question? I mean, I just added more to your answer. Does
Yeah,
that answer your question?
No, you answered it, yep. Yes.
Okay. So let's say anime discovery and tracking. This one requires you to have an authorization code. This one will require you to have an API. Let's go to the anime. And for that, you will have to create, you will have to go ahead and get your authorization code. And in order for you to get the authorization code, you do have to have a you do have to get a token. And with this, with authorization code, it will be able to make sure to limit your request when you are making requests, get request, post request if you need to, and so on. And this is one. GraphQL, GraphQL is a Node.js SQL. Node.js, sorry, a NoSQL, NoSQL database. All right. I hope you guys, if you want to create and do it with the 1 second, go back. Go back. I want to show you about authorization for anime database. Anime, there's anime quotes, does not need to get anything. But for this one, the anime database, you need an API key. This is an example, and you do need to have an account. All right, guys, explore APIs. All right, and do changes to your projects. And what if I let you go early today? I mean, 1 second. Not exactly early, but 1 second.